President Trump promoting the success of the federal crackdown on crime in Washington, D.C. as he warns other troubled cities like Chicago he'll clean up their streets too. Over the Labor Day weekend, at least 54 people were shot, 7 were killed as residents and Chicago police welcome any federal law enforcement, even as Democratic leaders in the city continue to refuse help and have even ordered the city's police to not work with ICE on any operations. Joining us now to discuss is the former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weis. Good morning to you, sir. Great to see you.
Good morning.
You know, we've heard from both Illinois Governor Jody Pritzker and Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, and both are adamant. They've both stated they will do everything they can to resist any federal law enforcement. We even saw Mayor Johnson signing that executive order to ban local police from working with federal law enforcement should they come to Chicago. What's your thoughts on this, especially given the cooperation we've seen with D.C.?
Yeah, if you look at D.C., that's really, I think, the blueprint for how federal authorities can work with local authorities. But, you know, Jan, their comments are literally absurd to me. And what do they mean by resist and rise up? Are we talking about the I word, insurrection? Let's look at the numbers, because to me, if you don't want the Fed help, then you must be happy with the numbers you have in crime. And we all know the only acceptable number for murder would be 0. But you just quoted some numbers. Think about that. In a Labor Day weekend, 54 people shot, 7 killed. And let's look at the year-to-date numbers. Do you realize that every 19 hours and 58 minutes, someone is murdered in Chicago? Every 4 hours and 19 minutes, someone is shot. And the sad part, you ask yourself, who's shooting who? Who's killing each other? 78% of the victims are black. 81% of the offenders are black. So you've got black and black crime, and yet the governor and the mayor say they don't want any help. So to me, when you refuse help, you're saying you're happy with the numbers, and that is absolutely unacceptable in Chicago right now.
Why do you think Pritzker and Johnson are so resistant to this?
Oh, that's a great question. You know, if you think about it, the #1 responsibility of government is to protect the people. And I see J.B. Pritzker walking the late 6 o'clock in the morning saying, there's no crime here, it's beautiful. Well, it's 6 o'clock in the morning along the lake. I live pretty close to that area. There is no crime. Let him walk in the Austin neighborhood or the Inglewood neighborhoods at 11 o'clock, because that's where many of his constituents live. And they're not going to feel safe. Mayor Johnson talks about if we just had more affordable housing. Go back to when you were there, Jan. Cabrini Green, Robert Taylor Homes, those were shooting galleries. So he thinks affordable housing is the key. Ridiculous. You ask why they don't want to do it? If I'm going to say a simple answer, I think they're afraid. I think they are afraid that people will see what can be done if politicians commit to taking action and really want to make a difference. That's the only reason I can think of, because otherwise it makes no sense. And if you look at what Mayor Bowser has done in D.C., she's embraced it, and it's made a huge difference. I wish they would learn from her.
Would it be different if it was perhaps a Democratic president? Do you think this is all politics?
Oh, I think that would change 100%. If Barack Obama was still there and he sent in the troops for this, I think it would be embraced. In fact, when they had that, I think you were still there, they had that killing of that young boy in one of the high schools when the mayor was out of town. Yeah. For the Olympics, and we had Eric Holder came out, and we thought he was going to pledge a lot of support. I thought he was going to send in additional federal resources and do all this great thing. He did nothing. But yeah, I think that would be a totally different story if this was a Democratic president offering resources.
Yeah, and you know the city, you know the people. You were there for many years, and despite the rhetoric from some of those Democratic leaders, residents want to feel safe. We're hearing from residents this morning, and they're saying they want the help, especially after this violent Labor Day weekend. If you were superintendent again, how would you make use of an offer of more resources by the president?
Boy, that'd be such a great offer. And I'm going to address this 2 different ways, Jan. First, Chicago Police Department has worked with federal agencies forever. Usually they're the long-term gang cases, drug cases, and those are very effective, but they take years to get that return on investment. So what I would ask for with the president, I would say, let's send in a lot of agents and a lot of prosecutors, and let's start looking for those quick impact cases. For example, any felon that's picked up with a gun, that can go federal. Drug possession with the intent to distribute, that can go federal. If you find a gun in a narcotics arrest, that can go federal. And my favorite of all time, Hobbs Act. Because if someone robs a liquor store or robs a convenience store, because that affects interstate commerce and they're using violence, that can be a federal crime. And why are federal crimes good to go with? They send people away for a long time to a place far, far away. So that's what I would really push for, those quick impact cases. Now, the National Guard, those are a force multiplier. They can serve as deterrents. You go to the hotspot policing theories, you put them in the parks, you put them in open air drug markets. That will deter crime. Logistically, they can be great help. If you want to do traffic stops, if you have to, arrest a lot of people, they can handle prisoner processing. The military brings great intel to the table. So if you're trying to find where you need to deploy the police officers and when they need to be there, they can help in that. And let's not forget, they can also protect federal resources. So if ICE is trying to do their job and going out and arresting illegal aliens and they're getting attacked or harassed from different mobs, they can protect them as well as the federal structures. So there's so much that could be done. Yes, it would take a little planning, but I would love to have that opportunity to coordinate that for the city of Chicago, because I do think you could make a very, very impactful difference in a short period of time.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note, too, you had a great relationship with the mayor at the time, Mayor Daley, and I think that's equally as important for this mayor as well, to have that equal cooperation with his police department. And right now, a lot of police officers are saying they do want the help. Former head of the Chicago PD, Jody Weis, always a pleasure to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jen. Have a great day.
You too.